This is Matt with Altcoin Buzz. Today, we're going to look at this week's volume trends in review and why that matters to your crypto portfolio. We're going to look at the long-term volume trends, the short-term, and the tools you can use to help you track these. If you are new to the Altcoin Buzz channel, please hit the subscribe button and then ring this bell for notifications. And every time a new video drops, we will let you know. And then we have all the social media channels listed right there, or you can go to altcoinbuzz.io and get all the links to everything. Hey, let's get right to it. Crank up the volume on this volume trend on the week. I was going to show you the big picture here of what has happened. And also, let's go back 2016, the start of 2015. Also, what happened in January during those months? Hey, as this week, as we have come down again into this correction, we hit the 62% Fibonacci line. And remember, we're looking at the weekly volume trend right here. This is the full bar. It completed, and now we know last week's volume was 47.5K on Kraken. Now, it doesn't matter because we're just getting a macro view. This isn't the full volume of Bitcoin overall because this is the Kraken exchange. I'm using my account. But this gets you an idea of the size of this. We know this is about 5% of the market out there. But look at the heavier volume throughout the year as we came up into here, and then the lighter volume as we came down, and now the volume's starting to pick up again over the overall trend. Now let's go back and look at the start of 16. What happened during 16? In January. I'm rolling my pointer along here, and you guys can see this is January of 16 on into February. I'll just pull it into view so you can see it a little better. And we did have a downturn last January, coming up into February, and see these tight candles, lower volatility, consolidation. It lasted all the way till May, till things started kicking up again. We had that big run up here. Remember, that was from the 400s to 800 during this time. So huge, 50% up during that time here. But prior to that, all through the spring, tight candles, consolidation. The volume was very light here in January, very light in February. Let's go back. Let's look at the start of 15. Here we go, big correction in January, just like we had before. It had come down all the way from all the final part of the year of 14 on into the first part of 15. January was the same. Lighter volume, consolidation all throughout the spring. So same thing, just big picture. This is nice that we came down with lighter volume into this 62% range on the Fib. Take a look at that. We're not trying to get into real in-depth technical analysis on this, but it's something that we're going to keep track of on a weekly basis. And we like to see these volume spikes. We like to see what's going on. Here's another way to track things, guys, that you might not know about, bitcoincharts.com. It's just another view, nice little pie chart. You get the big picture view of this. All the exchanges and by volume of what's happening, by market, exchange volume distribution. And then over here by currency. Remember, we talked about this as well. Look how much is coming from Japan, 51%, 29% on the US dollar, and 12% on the euro. I think this matters right now because of this. Go to cryptocompare.com, and I showed you this last week. We have Bitcoin by currency and Bitcoin US dollar total volume in a month. And you can see here on the monthly chart that we have a kick up in the overall volume. Now, this isn't just one exchange. This is the overall Bitcoin volume. We have a spike here. And as that, you know what's happened in the last few days with this. Here's the exchanges, Bitcoin volume by currency, and right now Japan on this listed at 42%, US dollar 33%. But I wanted you to see this. Remember when we talked about this last week? Tether was above 14%. We're now down to 9%. So a lot of the volume came out of Tether there, 4 or 5%, if you're just tracking the overall trend. Remember this last week we looked at Korea, and see the European numbers are a little different than that bitcoincharts.com pie chart. So compare those, check that out. Here's the Bitcoin US volume by exchange over here. Bitfinex seems a little lower than it was to me last week. GDAX, Gemini, Kraken, those seem a little higher than they were. So keep an eye on where the money is coming from, where it's flowing from. There's other ways to do that. You guys can see Bitcoin right now is at 88.12 on the live charts. Here is a monthly volume off of CoinMarketCap. Remember, we did this together, and we're going to do it again because it's going to show you some things that are happening in sector rotation, if you will. Money moving out of one thing into the other. So here you have on CoinMarketCap monthly volume rankings, and it's all on the left side. This is by number. Now, when you go volume today, just the 1 day 24 volume, and you toggle that, things change. The movement changes on the ranking. So if you look here on the left, you can see today things that were lower on the list yesterday moved up. You have a lot more volume on some of these that have higher numbers. This Digix DAO was 75 on the number on market cap. Now, today's volume was heavier. It moved up the list. You can see things that moved around. Cardano, more volume. It took over some of the volume differences on these in US dollar. You see this? So Bitcoin at 11 billion today, and we'll compare that to some of the other things in the markets just here a little later. Now watch how this moves. The 7-day volume then, if you toggle that and change it, then all your order of things change. It goes a little bit different, but look at this icon. Was 25 on the market cap, moves up into the volume spot. Just more volume coming into this. Notice these things as they spike. VeChain was one of them that had a lot of volume today that I noticed. I know you guys are in VeChain. You're in Lisk. Many of you are looking at Steam right now. And then let's compare that. What's the ranking compared to the last 30 days? Where's the heavy volume and how do things change? You want to find out. Observe these spikes. Here's the chart that I showed you on the NASDAQ, and we're just going to use this compared to dollar volume. You guys know the overall stock market got a lot of money sucked out of it in the last couple days. When we looked at this last week, some of the top tech stocks, and I'm just picking the NASDAQ 15 most active by dollar volume to get you a comparison of what's happening in the markets. So just Amazon alone, a $15.8 billion trading volume. 13.8 on Apple. Just those two alone. QQQs, that's the NASDAQ 100, the ETF. This is a great comparison for you. 11 billion. Well, you guys know we had 11 billion today on Bitcoin. So just on one security alone matches the volume of Bitcoin in US dollar. So there's your comparison. We know tech took a beating too, and that's just good to find out where money is flowing, macro trends to this. Now let's go to the short term, because this is what you guys really want to know. What's happening. Found this cointrends.com. You guys know about this site? Probably a lot of you do. There's a lot of you who just got into this, though, and you might not know these sites. Now, I'm asking in the comments, all of you right now who are mature in the space, you have been here, you know these things, go ahead and post links, because some of you have been doing that and helping the people who just got in with some good resources, some things you like the best to track some of these stats, these things on a weekly basis. What do you use to see this? Volume, volatility, the things that I talk about on the videos. So here's Coin Trends. I found this. This is nice. This shows you some good short-term trends when it comes to money flow. Not just money flow, buzz, volume, all this. So check this site out, Crypto Market Stats and Trends. They have the top 10 most mentioned currencies on Twitter. Amount of tweets since the last hour. Check this out. Let's refresh, see where we're at right now, because I just had that up there a little while ago. And, Bitcoin's winning by not quite half over Ethereum. It's a lot. A lot of mentions on Ripple. Here's your top 10, though. Tron's getting a lot of mentions in the last hour. Neo, Litecoin, Cardano, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic, and Stellar. These might be the ones you expect. They might not. What happens when you get a kick up in these? What happens when you see Cardano match Ripple? Tron, a lot of mentions on Twitter. A lot of buzz, a lot of activity. You guys want to know how to find this? How to find out what's going on? Take that chart, compare that to some of the volume trends that we look at all the time here on CoinMarketCap. Find out why these guys are changing positions on the short term. Wow, why does Cardano have a lot more volume? Why is the volume matching EOS today? And is it moving up compared to Ripple? See where the buzz is. See what's happening. Here's another cool one. So this market stat page that they have here, this is on cointrends.com. You can see a few normal stats. You could see highest volume alerts. Top 10 highest volume in the last 24 hours. So similar to some of the other websites, of course. I think that they use Bitfinex for their feed. Somebody can check me on that. But, you can see volume on this compared to what was happening on Twitter, compared to what is normally happening with these. Look, Litecoin's a little down in the last 24 hours on volume. That seems to be a little low for it. Here's some markets alert. This is another cool part of this. Yeah, it is Bittrex. Data in the last 10 minutes. So they have this this price change alert, volume change alert. So they give you some of when the volume starts kicking up, unusual volume. Here's another page for it, gains and losses. I like this one. Winners and losers, top 25 by market cap. Biggest winners, the top 5 in the last 24 hours. VeChain, Cardano. Whoa, we've talked about these. Populous, Lisk, and IOTA. All these were mentioned on the IOTA mentioned on the podcast last night. We did a video on Populous earlier in the week. Of course, VeChain and Cardano. Jeff talked about those. Biggest losers, 5 biggest losers in the last 24 hours. Most value lost in 24 hours. Tether, 1.77. Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Qtum, Bitcoin Cash. Top 100 by market cap, biggest winners, gain in market cap. Hey, look at that. Kin's kicking up. I got a big position in Kin. I think you guys know that. Top 300 by market cap. Just a cool little identifier for some short-term trends. That's what we're talking about here. Short-term volume trends, spikes, things you might want to know about. Here's another thing I think you guys will want to know. This is on bitinfocharts.com, and this is transaction fees. I told you last week we are going to look at these transaction fees, find out maybe how some of these will get added to some of the apps that are coming out. A lot of these companies have said, well, we can't use Bitcoin. It's the gold. It's got such high transaction fees. We can't buy cheeseburgers with Bitcoin. So we're going to switch our app. We're going to switch our exchange. We're going to switch our product to be able to use Stellar Lumens. Lower transaction fees, high volume. We're going to use Bitcoin Cash for that. We're going to use Litecoin, use Monero for privacy. So you guys compare on this chart transaction fee trends compared to several months ago, and look at this. Overall, we're down pretty low compared to we were in December and January. No surprise. Market cap goes way through the roof, and the transaction fee spike. But look at this website on bitinfocharts.com. You can toggle your choice down here. You can pick which ones to add to the chart. So I can add Ethereum on this, and it's a little slow to respond on this, but you can add the different coins, put those on the chart for yourself, toggle it for average transaction fee. You can chart it for medium transaction fee. It's just a really cool tool they have. Here's another aspect of that website. Here is the Bitcoin active address historical charts. And I wanted to pull this for you because this is basically the big holders. The amount of active addresses. They have a rich list on this website, by the way, so you can check the breakdown. I'll show you that in a minute. But here's active addresses in Bitcoin. So look where we're at on the trend, right down the middle. Bunch of active addresses here. You'd expect this to kick up if more people were buying and selling, of course, right? But we're just right at about average. That's the trend right now. We have had a January where that trend is dropping, not as many active users. Well, what does that tell you? People are holding it. Even as the prices come down, there's not as many active Bitcoin addresses at this point. Here's the rich list, and they have it for every coin that's listed on this. It will show you the breakdown of the percentage of Bitcoin that's held by the balance and the amount of addresses and the percentage of Bitcoin that's held by all these accounts. Kind of a cool chart. Top 100 richest Bitcoin addresses. You guys can look at that. You might already know this. If you know this, you know these resources, there's 100 others who don't. So make sure that you share these. This is good for all of us. Research and sharing and getting this out there is great for us. But I at least wanted to bring it out because I think it's kind of cool. You guys can look at this. It's called a fiat leak, like you got a leak in your faucet. Fiatleak.com, and it shows across all these countries. It's got this chart, and it shows the amount of Bitcoin going into which countries. And as the feed is going, little coins go into all the countries, and you can see the rate that it's coming into for the last hour and 30 minutes and 10 minutes and 5 minutes and 1 minute. It's kind of a cool thing. And they have the exchange volume down here at the bottom. So the price looks accurate to me. I haven't verified yet, and it's just a visual that you guys can use. Here's another on our short-term trend list. You know, we're talking about this week the rotation and the difference. Did you notice that Ethereum just held up? Even with Bitcoin dropping, it held up real high for quite a while and held its value, which is very unusual to me. But something's up. You know something's up. And here's the bitinfocharts.com correlation map that they have. So you can use this for several of the ones that you are in, Bitcoin being a one, but you can see how is it correlated to Ethereum or Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, or Dash on down the line. How closely is the correlation between those? Now on this website, this correlation is calculated using an average between different factors like transaction count, block size, and the number of tweets for the last 3-month period. And they say, of course, correlation doesn't always mean causation. So just because right here Bitcoin is only correlated 37% to Ethereum, it doesn't mean that causes one to go up or down either way. But this is a good gauge to find out how closely things move together over this 3-month period with all their stuff. And you can see here because how close on a 60% correlation Litecoin is to Bitcoin. It's one of the highest over here. Monero is actually a little bit higher than Litecoin on that correlation list. So it's a good tool for convergence, divergence, as you guys are trying to figure out, well, if I am taking a little bit of my profit, maybe on my top third of my trade. I have my core position. I might have my 2/3 position, the middle position, and then that top 1/3 of how much, let's say, Litecoin that you have. You might be trading in and out of that. Well, what would you put it in? Right now, Tether's not a great idea, and you may not want to put it back in US dollar for tax reasons. So where do you put it? Now, here's a comparison for you of another, and I'm going to have a whole video on this because this site is fabulous. It's SIFR data, and I'm gonna share the website with you on another video. But this is a cryptocurrency correlation matrix, and this one is a shorter term because you can actually change it. So here's a 90-day. Remember, the other one I told you is 3 months. So I'm sorry, this is 3 months. They have longer ones. They've got a 6-month one that you can pull on their website. They've got a year-long one, so you can find out the correlation between all these that they have listed. What ratio do they move in together? Well, Bitcoin, of course, at a 1 here on this chart. see, they've got Ethereum over the course of the 365 days as being at 50%. Ripple only at 26. Very interesting to me. If you look at Litecoin on this, it's 52% compared to we saw it was a little higher. And what was the one that was higher on the last chart? Monero, only 51. And I think it was 59 on the short term. But this is nice because you can change this back and forth and you can see what's happened in the last 6 months. Now, here's what I really wanted to show you about this correlation chart. With the overall stock market, the things going down this week, the Dow dropping 400 points one day, 600 points today, and the S&P dropping, NASDAQ dropping. You guys can see over here the correlation between Bitcoin and, let's say, the S&P index. And it's interesting to note, it's not hardly correlated at all. 0.14, you can go in here. But most importantly, we're talking about volatility of the markets. And you can go back and reference my video from earlier in the week on volatility. And as a demonstration, as a way to explain what volatility is, we talked about volatility in the S&P 500, and that is gauged by the VIX. That's the fear gauge, or it shows the risk. There's some call it how much risk there is in the markets. So we use that in the regular markets to find out what volatility is. Now, the VIX cannot be used for anything with crypto. And there was an article that came out today kind of with that premise, that as people are, as the fear goes up in the overall stock market and the VIX goes up, which is the volatility indicator on the S&P 500, that might have something to do with crypto. I don't think it does at all, because look at this chart. It's just not correlated at all. Gold is correlated more with the cryptos, higher, in some in the 20 and the teens percentage, the correlation in those. Again, still not that much. I know you guys are out there. You want to know where to put your money. So quick check on this market. We have right now 88.24. Keep an eye this week on the volume. Keep an eye on the news for things that are going to affect Bitcoin volume. One of the things that I think just came out, I know there's going to be some videos on it from Altcoin Buzz, is this Canadian tax law. They apparently stated yesterday that there's going to be no tax ramifications over a certain amount for crypto. I think that's going to bring a lot of Canadian volume into crypto. And it was reported on CoinDesk today. They approved the country's first blockchain ETF on the Toronto exchange. So watch out for that this week, how that can affect volume. Futures regulations. If you look on CoinDesk again, there's some things with futures that they said, well, the exchanges are going to, they get to self-approve this. Again, we said, more regulation on this shows stability. It shows this is a valid asset class. So I don't think you're you against Wall Street on this crypto game. Not at all. And the Square company, the Cash App, they released Bitcoin to all users this week. Again, watch the Robinhood stock trading app. They're going to release to trade Bitcoin, Ethereum this month. And there's well over 1 million people in line for that. All right, this has been the weekly review and where the money is going. Weekly wrap up. This is stuff that interests me in crypto, and I think it's going to help you in your research. If you like this, please comment below. Tell me what you need along these lines. And remember, for all our social media channels, just go to altcoinbuzz.io. Visit our Steemit channel. Sign up for a Steemit account. We've got a great group of people in there. It's just been fun. And I'll post all the links that I went over in this episode and the tools that we used. You guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.